the Heartland in Sharon, Kansas. Today's guest is not only a chart-topping sensation, but a 4-time CMA Female Vocalist of the Year, 3-time ACM Top Female Vocalist, and a Grammy-nominated artist. With over 14 million albums sold in the U.S. and a string of 20 top 10 hits on the Billboard Country Chart, her voice is a force to be reckoned with. So whether you're a diehard country fan or just tuning in for some good vibes, grab your headphones, settle in, and let's dive into the incredible world of my friend, the one and only Martina McBride.
Oh, hey, friend.
Hey.
How are you?
Great.
I am so happy to have you here. Thank you so much for coming. I hate asking people to do things.
I do too.
Because it's like we're so busy and, you know, like you were so sweet to come on our Closet Chaos thing that we did during the pandemic, and that was our highest rated episode.
Really?
Of all of them that we did.
Oh my gosh, it was so fun.
We had millions of views on that thing, and everybody just absolutely loved hearing us talk. So just so the fans know, you are country superstar Martina McBride. You are somebody that I've always looked up to. We're basically the same age, but you got your record deal before me. And we both were signed at RCA Records. We were both signed by Joe Galante. We have so much in common. You're from Kansas. I'm from Missouri. You grew up on a dairy farm. I grew up on a tobacco farm. And we both started singing at a young age with our siblings. And we're both real. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's the first thing that I wanted to go into with you. I don't know if it's because I'm 52 and I'm just starting to get just like pissed about things. And we've talked about it briefly about how the music industry has changed so much. What I love about you and you know, a lot of the other women that were coming up the same time as us, like Leanne Womack and Faith Hill and Trisha Yearwood and Patty Loveless and, you know I'm missing some, but there were so many women when you and I got signed and we're coming up in the industry and we're all very, very real, meaning we started doing it as children and we had the experience. We had paid our dues a lot before we came to town. So, how did your family get into music? Because I've never really and truly heard the story. I know that my parents, you know, my brother started taking guitar lessons. I would sing along with them at about age 4. And my mom was just like, oh my God, the kids are talented. My mom, and she's such an entrepreneur. So she went out immediately. And I'm so grateful that she did because she could have been lazy and just said, you know, yeah, my kids are, but she went out and bought music equipment, hired musicians. By the time I was 6, I was singing the 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. gig.
That's awesome.
In bars with my brothers. So grateful to her for doing that and making something out of it. How did that all happen in your world?
Well, my dad he's retired now, but he was a farmer. And so he just worked really hard, but he had his sort of side hustle was music. You know, he loved to sing and play the guitar, and he always had a band ever since I can remember. Like they would rehearse in the living room, and I was just a little kid running around, and you know, I started wanting to sing at about 4 years old, and then I got a little bit older. I think about 7 was when me and my brother started singing and playing in the band, and we'd come in for probably like you, we did local dances and Elks Clubs and VFWs and wedding dances and things like that. So it wasn't really bars, but you know, and so we would come in, and my brother and I would come in and sing like the first set, and then we'd, you know, have to go home. And then really at about 9 years old, we were like just there for the whole night,
the whole show.
And you know, so it was really just something that was really natural. This whole singing and music thing came so naturally to us, and we were, as you said, you grew up on a farm. I grew up on a farm about 10 miles from any civilization.
Same.
And the civilization that was there was like a town of 200 people. So it was very, very remote and very rural. And we just, once we got home from school, that was pretty much it. You were just home, right?
Yes.
And it was, we didn't have a lot of a lot of things to do, but there were always playing outside and chores and music instruments.
Yes.
So there was always a piano and guitars, and we had the little tape recorders that my brother and I would, the ones you'd push play and record at the same time, and we would record ourselves singing and playing, and it just became this like what we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So farmers aren't rich,
Right.
So I always say that I grew up poor on a farm, but I didn't feel poor.
Right.
And I think, like, how many acres did y'all have?
I think about 480.
Yeah, we were about the exact same. I mean, I swear we have so much in common. Our stories are so similar, except my parents didn't do music.
Okay.
But my dad is where we got our talent from. He had a beautiful voice, and he was always singing, but neither of them did it. But I think as soon as they recognized it in us, they were. And I asked my mom one time, I'm like, why did you do that? I'm not even sure that I would have done that because I'm kind of lazy. I mean, aside from working my ass off in the music industry like you, but I'm really not, I don't know that I would have done that. But it's cool that your dad was a musician also, and you guys were on stage with him. And now in my life, it's the reverse. And my kids are on stage with me.
Yeah.
But they didn't get to have the experience like we did as kids because they were always on the road watching.
Yeah.
So they didn't get into it till they were like, Avery started playing guitar at about 14. I know you have 3 girls, Delaney, Emma, and Ava.
Right.
And they're all kind of close to the age of my kids, but just a few years older. I think Audrey and Ava are the same age. Audrey's 19.
Yeah. Ava's 18.
Okay. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, Audrey quit school.
Okay.
Yeah. She didn't, she started, we moved back up to Nashville in 2019 and she started doing online school and then she just didn't finish. And, she quit. She doesn't have her GED, anything, but she's like, doing the TikTok world and like kind of popping off at that.
That's awesome.
Are your girls into music? Any of them?
They all can sing and they all love music, but they don't really have that, whatever that thing is that makes you want to get out in front of people and perform.
Right.
I mean, Emma, my oldest daughter, was always this very dramatic kid. Like I always thought she might end up in theater. And I think she, there's still a part of her that wants to do that and she might do it eventually, but she's a massage therapist.
She's very
hippie and holistic and she's amazing.
I follow her on Instagram and I love her. She's so cool.
She's so cool. So earthy.
Yep.
So real. Emma, our middle daughter, always wanted to be an actress. So she moved to LA. She went for a year of college in Texas. And then just because she wanted the experience of going to college for a year.
Yeah.
Then she moved to LA. She was out there for a while, moved to New York, moved back to LA, back to New York. Now they're back in LA. She is. But now she's kind of decided that she wants to be she wants to do more in the production side of things. So she's working for a production company out there that's really great. And so it's kind of fun watching her evolve with her dreams and everything.
Right.
And then Ava took a gap year between high school and college. So she's home with us and she's figuring it out. She came out with me on my Christmas tour and did my hair and makeup.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, she's really, really good at it.
She's stunning.
Thank you.
By the way.
She's beautiful.
She's beautiful.
They all are.
They all are beautiful. But the difference with your girls, like all 3 of my kids look kind of like triplets. Like they all look the same. You have 3 very distinct, but they all look alike as well. But I think Ava looks the most different.
Yeah, she does. But they do. I see them in each other. You know? It's funny. You posted the other day about whose birthday was it? Livy's birthday, and you had pictures of her, and then you had a picture of you and her when she was a baby, and I was like, oh my gosh, they look so much alike.
Yes, it's weird. And Audrey, especially, is just me made over. I mean, it's crazy. I always say Avery has my brain. Like he and I think alike. We're very, very close, very good friends. You never got to have the mother-son thing, but it is real what they say. Like it's a special bond. I think girls having a son and 2 girls, I think girls are easier to raise because with a boy, you got to figure out how much to dote on him and how much to discipline him and how much to boss him around and not to, because you want them to be, you don't want to emasculate him, but you want him to be good men. And, So around 14 or 15, I stopped mothering Avery in the sense that I wouldn't disrespect him at all.
Right.
You know, just like, no, you are not. I've never done that with him because I didn't want him to feel, to carry that with him into, so raising boys is hard,
that's a whole nother dynamic.
It is,
I'm sure.
it is.
Yeah.
But it's so fun. And he has my brain and Olivia has my heart and Audrey has my personality. Who of your girls is the most like you?
Probably Emma. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, they all have things we're similar. You know, Delaney, like we said, she loves to cook and take care of people. She's very down to earth. Mm-hmm. Ava is so quick-witted. She's so smart and so funny, and it's just like she's just this amazing little being. She always has been since she was a little
baby of the family.
And then, but Emma, it's funny. Emma and I are probably. We were talking about this the other day because she is my heart. Mm-hmm. But we're so much alike that sometimes we try to occupy the same space. Right. Emotionally, physically, you know, she's very like sure of herself and she's and capable and like, you know, I am too. And so it's even though we both have our insecurities, you know, everybody does, but it's like, I don't know. We just kind of like the other two kind of, we all work around each other. Me and Emma are like, here we both are.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I totally get what you're saying. Yeah. So, you have 2 siblings?
I do. I have 3.
3 siblings. Mm-hmm. And what number are you?
I'm 3rd. I have an older brother and sister that are half brother and sister, which even though we always called each other brother and sister.
Yeah.
To me, they're my brother and sister.
Yes.
And then I have a younger brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is Marty the younger brother?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm 3rd too of 7. My parents were married, had 5 kids, and then my mother and father divorced when I was 12, and she remarried and had 2 girls.
Okay.
So same thing, 2 half sisters, but if you grow up with them, you know, they're just your sibling.
Sure.
But so back to you singing with your dad. As you got a little bit older, you started doing the whole show. Was it mostly you and Marty, or the 2 older ones as well?
Mostly me and Marty. My older brother played drums for a little while, but that was kind of in the iteration of the band that was before I joined. Mm-hmm. So so I played keyboards and sang, and Marty played guitar and steel guitar, sang background. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's so cool. Yeah. I mean, and there's just something about doing music with your family and singing with your family. You know what each other's gonna do, and like my sisters used to tour with me, and we would just know, or they would come in and sing on my records, and it was so easy because they sound just like me, and they have my same instincts pretty much.
There really is something about that family blend for sure.
Yeah. I saw your dad recently, as you know. He came to one of my shows. Yeah. Was that in Kansas? Yeah. And he's so cool. He was just like, we had him come backstage, and I was so honored that he was there. And I was kind of nervous, you know, because I was like, I want him to go back and tell Martina that the show was great.
He did. Good. He loved it.
He's so sweet. That was so nice of him to come. So as you get older, did you play sports? And did you have to work outside on the farm as well? Yeah,
we did some. You know, we worked outside some. Sports, I was always like not super great at sports, even though I think I was kind of told, you know, like, you're not great at sports. But I mean, like now, I mean, I'm not bad. I'm not like a total klutz. You know what I mean?
Well, musicians are usually good athletes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, people who can sing, because singers are considered to be athletes.
Well, yeah, of course.
Right. So usually we're coordinated.
Yeah.
And good athletes, and usually athletes are musical. They can, you know, like my husband was a professional football player, and he has perfect rhythm, perfect singing.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So it does make sense that part of your brain that tells your body what to do vocally is the same athletically, but you were probably just so little.
I was a runt. I was really, 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 really little. And I think now that I'm just sitting here thinking about that while you're talking, because I think maybe what it was we were so obsessed with music that, you know, where most kids would practice sports or whatever.
Yeah.
We'd spend all that time practicing music and just listening to records and singing along with records and making up our songs. And just like, we were just obsessed with it.
Yes.
I mean, like kids would come over after school. Every once in a while, I'd have somebody at a sleepover, you know, and they'd be like, I'd be like, listen to this record and listen to this record. And they're like, what is happening? Can we just go outside and play?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So it wasn't until I was really in high school until I found a friend who loved music as much as I did. But yeah, so I think, you know, spending that time where most kids are outside playing with ball or doing like practicing running, whatever, we were just inside obsessed with our musical instruments.
Yeah. Yeah. And what was your friend's name that loved music?
Her name was Deb.
Deb.
Yeah.
So after you graduated high school, like when did you meet John after graduating?
So I'm the worst at like the chronological thing because it all seems like when I look back on it, and I got married at 21, I graduated at 17. That's 4 years, but it seems like a lot happened in those 4 years. And I think back, like, how did I do all that?
Yeah.
Just as far as like singing in bands and moving and things like that. But no, I graduated at 17. I moved out the day after graduation, went to a town called Hutchinson, Kansas, went to a junior college for one semester. My school was the opposite of a college prep school. I had no idea what I was doing. We didn't even have a college counselor, I don't think. So I showed up and I was like, completely overwhelmed. Plus I was working at Dairy Queen and I was singing in this rock band that we would travel around and do, you know, weekends kind of, you know, whatever you call it, like around that area and locally. And so I really didn't have that focus for school, even though I loved it. And I always said I wanted to go back, but you know.
So you did love it?
Yeah. I mean, I always loved school. I loved it, but it was just too much. I just was like, I couldn't get the schedule figured out. And I was living off campus and I had a boyfriend, you know, so just a lot going on that I was distracted.
Right.
And then anyway, so I met John I graduated in 1984. I met him in 1987 because I'd moved to Wichita at the time where he had grown up. And I was trying to put a band together. And did put a band together, and he had a rehearsal space. My husband had a concert sound company. He did sound for acts, and so he had a big warehouse, and he just built a rehearsal space. So somebody said, "You need to call John McBride. He's got this rehearsal space." And so I went in there, and he helped me set up the PA. I didn't know much about that, but you know, the band absolutely imploded. Like we never made it out of the rehearsal space.
Oh, really?
You know? No, no. It was like, you know, they were all a lot older than me and they're like mid 20s, but like I was the only one that had a car. So I would like go around and pick them up, you know, at their house or at their parents' house. So it gives you a little bit of an idea
right. A lot of
what
effort.
I was dealing with.
Yeah.
As far as like maturity level goes.
Right.
But yeah, so we sort of broke up before we got started. And John was just like, he lived at the warehouse, literally. And we just got to start hanging out, and he was this really like outgoing guy, very can do, very take charge and just sweet and funny. And we just got to be really good friends. And we started dating in January of 1987. We got engaged we started dating maybe in April and got engaged in May. And then we set it for a year ahead and got married May 15th of 88.
Wow. You got engaged 1 month later.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And y'all have been married how long?
It'll be 36 years in May.
That's incredible. Would you say he's your very best friend?
Yeah.
On earth? Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. And he travels with you and runs sound for you still? Yeah. I mean, I've always looked at you and John and just thought, you know, that you guys have the perfect life. Like,
well,
and I know nobody has the perfect life, but it is so cool that there must just be, I mean, something so easy about your relationship that you can just work together, live together. I know he's a great dad. And you've managed to keep it all together, and it's not an easy career to do that.
No, but I think it was just meant to be, because I think back on it, and I think if I'd have met or married anybody else, it would have been really hard for me to get where I am, because he was just always, he loves music and he wanted to be involved in the music industry as well. But I had this dream of coming to Nashville, and he was like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
There was never any hesitation. As a matter of fact, he wanted to go like a few months before. I'm like, I want Christmas here with my family. He's like, let's go. So he was just always so gung ho about whatever my dreams were and are, and up for anything. And I think that had I married kind of a traditional Kansas guy, I don't know, they would have thought, wait a minute, what do you mean we're moving to Nashville?
Right.
What?
Yeah. Well, it's really hard to be married to a singer, to an artist, if you're the one standing on the side. And so probably one of the things that's worked is that he's not standing on the side.
Right.
He's running your front of house, and he's in charge of, probably everything.
A lot.
Technical.
And he owns Blackbird Studio, a studio here in town, and he's involved in, he has a school, Blackbird Academy, that trains engineers, and a web series called Inside Blackbird. So he's got a lot going on that is his own.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's really important. I think when we first moved here, it was hard, because when I first got a record deal, you're kind of whisked away.
Yes.
Everybody's like, oh, you're ours now. Well, you need to go do this, this, and this, and this. And it takes a really understanding person to deal with those growing pains.
Right.
And be able to really, it takes a very secure person.
Yeah. Cause it's like you are whisked away.
Yeah.
And there's so many demands put on you, especially, when we were coming up, but I think the difference is, and I've just so the fans know, I've recorded at Blackbird Studios a lot, and I love it. And I read this book there. At your place. Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yep. I read it for Audible in your studio. But yeah, so you guys came to Nashville in what year?
1990.
90. Yeah. I moved here, I think, in 92 or something like that. It was a completely different city.
Oh, yeah.
Like completely different. I don't know. I think I always take it back to the TV show Nashville. Like that's what happened to Nashville.
Yeah.
It made it like so popular. And I don't know. We're going to talk about all that in a minute, how much everything has changed. But, I moved here with my brother, and we each saved $1,000 and moved here, and then I immediately got a job waiting tables. Like, how did y'all make a go of it, and how soon did you get your deal?
So John would go out and do sound for different acts that would travel a little bit. When we moved here, he rented a warehouse space. We borrowed a little money. I think we borrowed maybe $10,000. So we had sort of that little, backup plan. We rented a little duplex in Donaldson for $250 a month. And I started waiting tables and singing demos. And then John, he went out and did sound for this 3 shows, I think in Oklahoma. And it was Ricky Van Shelton was the headliner.
Oh my gosh.
Clint Black was the middle act. And the opening act was this new guy, Garth Brooks.
Wow.
And John came home raving about Garth Brooks. He was like, you won't believe this guy. He's like climbing on speakers. He's throwing his hat around. It's like a rock show,
Yeah.
So he struck up a friendship with Garth and said, if you guys ever need a place to rehearse, you can come use my warehouse space. Once again with the rehearsal space.
Yeah. Brilliant.
I just now put that together.
But people need that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they did. And they just, John eventually became his production manager. And then when Garth was able to carry sound on the road, he hired John's company. And then he outgrew John's company. So then helped John grow the company. So yeah, that was amazing. Like did you ever look back and just think some things are meant to be, like the way everything works out, right?
Yeah.
So And then I didn't really sing live while I was here. I just waited tables and sang demos. Then I went out and sold T-shirts for Garth, which we all know that story.
Yeah.
And then got a record deal. I think I got my record deal in 1992, and had my first single came out in the spring of 92.
Wait, let me remember. Was it Whiskey If You Were a Woman? No. That's Highway 101. Whiskey was.
I love that song.
Don't you love that song?
I love Highway 101.
Oh my God, I was obsessed with them.
Me too.
What was her name?
Paulette Carlson.
Her voice. I'm obsessed with that real fast vibrato, like Stevie Nicks.
Yeah,
anybody, and I've kind of got that too.
Yeah.
I love them. Wait, but what was it? Wait. It was a whiskey song, right?
Well, that was the second single.
Okay.
The first one was called "The Time Has Come."
The Time Has Come. Yeah. The time has come to let you go. Yeah, I was such a huge fan.
Oh, thank you.
Of course. I mean, you were amazing, and you were so different. My perspective of you when you came out was just your look was so different and cute and beautiful blue eyes, but I loved your short hair. Like, I think your short hair helped you get famous. I swear.
Yeah.
Like, your voice is phenomenal, but you just didn't look like everybody else.
Yeah.
You know?
And I didn't really think that through at all. I just decided I wanted short. I'd always sort of had long hair. And I can't even remember what made me want to cut it, but I did.
Was it somebody at the label?
No,
suggested
they
it?
had no idea. And they were like, what did you do?
Yeah.
We've got, the photo shoot done. We've got all these, you mean this is your image and now you've completely changed. And I'm like, I had no idea. It was just, it's my hair.
Do you remember who cut that cut?
Well, I would say the cut that you know and love was from Earl Cox, who still does my hair.
Yeah. Oh my God. That is incredible. But I know it sounds weird to say that, but like, your haircut did make a difference because all girls like try to have long hair and that whole thing. Like, I wear extensions, like, my real hair just basically like it's a joke because I've been wearing extensions for so long. And I did your haircut. So I got married, our stories are so similar, but unfortunately I didn't marry somebody as supportive as John. And, but I did marry an aspiring musician who was doing music with his brothers. And so at the time I thought this is perfect. We both want to do this, but when I got my record deal and they whisked me away, he went out and played guitar for me on the radio tour and tried to tour manage me a little bit, and it just did not work. But before we moved to Nashville, so I was waiting tables, met him, and went out to Oregon with him, stayed for a little over 2 years. I think my family thought, oh my God, she's given up music. It infuriated my brother. He left and moved to Dallas to live with my dad. I mean, thinking back on it, I'm just like, why did I do that? Like, why did I leave? But I thought I was in love.
Yeah, sure.
And, I wanted this. So I drove out to Oregon with him and his two brothers, and we were like Daisy Jones and the Six. We had that vibe going.
Yeah.
And, I'm grateful for him because I have these 3 amazing children, and they got music from my side and his side. So that's kind of cool. But you're right when you talk about you need somebody that's okay with it, because I don't think he was okay with it. And I think he was just jealous.
Well, I think when you have, two artists trying to, that would be really hard. I
Really
think
hard.
Somebody that has a career or a talent that complements what you do, and he's not fighting for the spotlight, John, at all. So that makes a difference. I think. Yeah.
He's just always there supporting you. And, like every time I've ever worked with you and been on the road with you, doing the Girls Night Out tour and just all of that, he's just always there and always around, and he's always in a good mood and smiling. And I know he's not always that way in real life, but
a lot of the time he is.
I bet.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see that.
Yeah.
He's just always so kind. And I've always, like I said, looked at you and thought you have the perfect scenario, the perfect set up. And I remember calling you and asking your advice about, and you don't remember telling me this, but I swear you told me to tell the label to get me a nanny. And I think you were, just saying, if that's really what you want to do, because you had already had Delaney and I was pregnant with Avery. And I remember sitting there, you know, when that hot flash comes over you, that you think of something that stresses you out so bad. And I'm like, how in the hell am I going to do this with a baby? Because, you know, I'm not going to want to leave my baby ever. And you were kind of one of the first people that did that took your kids on the road. And I just remember calling you and saying, how should I do it? What's your advice? And you said, take him with you.
Yeah.
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 So you guys always had your kids with you on the road.
We did.
Me too.
You know, until like when Delaney started kindergarten, I remember telling John about 3 years before, I'm like, you know, when she starts kindergarten, we're going to have to figure this out because I want her to go to school.
Right.
I want her to I don't really want to homeschool her. I really want her to go to school. And I think also secretly I was thinking to myself, and I need a break from the road. You know, that'll be nice to be able to not go out and work, you know,
constantly
150 days a year. So,
yes.
But yeah, so we did. We really dialed it back and started working on kind of only weekends and she'd still come out with us. So yeah, I don't know. I just sort of never considered doing it another way. And I think it was very frustrating for a lot of the powers that be, and especially the men at the label and my manager, you know, was like, why do you have to take this kid with you everywhere? It's like, because
it's my child.
Because I'm the mommy.
Yeah. Right. I mean, and it really is true that, you know, kids, they say from birth to 5 years old that they really don't understand that mommy's coming back. There's been all these studies now that show that they really do fear that when mommy leaves, that she's not coming back. And I just was not going to put my kids through that. I remember I had a manager, his name was Kip Crones, and I called him to tell him the news that I was pregnant with Avery, and he goes, oh, fuck. And I heard him say that on the phone. I think he was kind of trying to like maybe not say it right to me, and I fired him right then.
Good for you.
Because I was like, anybody who's not going to be for everything about me.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And we're not, you know, we're women, which I've never been that kind of woman that's like women's rights, and, you know, because it's my decision to have a kid and, you know, a career.
Yeah.
But I was going to choose the child over the career. So if it wouldn't have worked out to be able to take Avery with me everywhere, and then Livy and Audrey, I wouldn't be sitting here today because I just wouldn't have done it. And I know you're probably the same way.
Same way. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've always respected you for that so much, that your kids were always with you. And I was like, that's exactly how I'm going to do it. If she can do it, then I can do it. But did you go in and sing for Joe?
No.
How'd you get your deal?
So
I remember the purple envelope.
Yeah.
You're probably so sick of telling that story.
No, not at all. So Joe was in New York at the time.
Okay.
So Joe was the head of our record label, but he was like overseeing New York. So the head of the label in Nashville was Josh Leo, this guy named Josh Leo. And I had been told by a bass player friend of mine that I couldn't, because we'd made a demo tape and I'd shopped it around every record label, got turned down, made another one. And I was just getting ready to, you know, take it around. And I was like, well, we'll just drop it off. And he's like, you can't do that. You know, they don't just let you come in off the street and drop off cassette tapes at that point.
Right.
And I was like, oh, well, what do I do? And he's like, here's what you do. You put it in an envelope, and on the envelope, you write solicited material. They'll think they asked for it.
Right.
It'll get past the front desk to the A&R guy.
You lied.
I lied. I was a dirty liar.
That's smart.
Yeah. So actually it was requested material.
Requested material.
Yeah. So they listened to it, and I got a call. Actually, John got a call about 3 weeks later, because he'd put maybe his cell number on the envelope, and I don't know if I had a cell phone.
Did we have cell phones?
I don't know. But anyway,
Yeah.
they called his office, maybe it was at the warehouse, and said, we want you to come in and meet with Josh Leo. And John's like, I don't know who that is. Who is this? Like, he goes, he's the head of the label for RCA Records. And John's like, oh, okay. And so I went in. I think I went in and met with him. Anyway, they wanted to see a showcase. And I heard like sort of a rumor that they were looking at 3 different girls, at the same time. So we put together.
Now, do you know who those girls were?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
That would be so awesome to know.
Yeah, I know. Maybe I'll ask Josh if he remembers someday. But we put together a showcase, did a live showcase, and they came back that night and said, come in tomorrow and talk about a record deal. And I was like, what?
That's just amazing.
Yeah.
But
And
your voice is so undeniable. Like, who wouldn't sign you?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
It's true. Like, who wouldn't go and watch you on a showcase and not sign you? I mean, you're somewhere between Linda Ronstadt and, I don't know, like, your voice is just so big and dynamic, and you're beautiful. I mean, you're the perfect package. So Josh was very, very smart.
It worked out.
To choose you over those girls.
Yeah.
God, I'm dying to know who that was. I wonder if they ever made it.
I don't know. I really wish I knew who they were too. But yeah.
Okay, so so people don't understand how different things are these days, because, and I think it goes to, you're about 5 years older than me. Mm-hmm. Okay, our generation, we worked our asses off growing up. We did everything for ourselves. Like, my very first car was a Le Car. Do you remember those? It's like it was just a round car. It was like this big. And all my friends called it Le Shit. But I was just so grateful to have a car.
Yeah.
Because there were 6 other siblings. We were poor. We grew up really fast, like our generation and our parents before us, because all of our parents got married always, like right out of high school. My mom got married at 18, had a baby at 19. Mm-hmm. So each generation, I think, keeps getting like softer. And however, I think our generation is guilty of doing too much for our kids. I'm guilty of that. Because, and I say it all started with the sippy cup. When the sippy cup came into the world, it was representative of kids need something given to them at all times. Mm-hmm. Like, why does a child need a drink at all times?
Exactly. Yeah.
We didn't have a drink. I would go to the sink and get a glass of water out of the sink.
Or drink out of the hose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now, when obviously, since the iPhone, like, life is so different. And we're lucky because we've been able to live both sides of that coin.
Yeah.
Before the internet, before the iPhone, and after. Mm-hmm. And now you can't get a record deal without doing, in some ways it's harder for them, a lot harder for them, but they don't know how to work hard. It's like this weird, like in other words, I raised my kids with a lot of discipline. I wanted them to be really good, nice people. I wanted people to like them. So I was very diligent about that, but I also did a lot for them. I doted on them. And again, I think it's just the generations, our parents' generations didn't talk really, or they weren't real lovey and
no, not real affectionate, not real. I think they all had this sort of notion that if they said, "Oh, you look so pretty today," or "Oh, that's such a cute outfit you're wearing," or "You're so smart," "You're so funny." I never heard those things. You know what I mean? Because it's like, oh, that's going to give her a big head. We got to keep her. It's very Midwestern too. I think in a lot of ways.
I agree. Midwesterners are so stoic.
Yeah.
We're not emotional. I mean, we don't do that. Like, oh, but in the South, and I raised my kids in Alabama from the time Avery was 7. So in the South, it's very different. They're very like, emotional,
demonstrative.
Very demonstrative. And
yeah, I think I was very different from the girls' other friends' moms.
Yes.
And I would be like, they'd come in and I'd be like, hi, so-and-so, how's it going?
Yeah.
They'd be like, good, how are you? But I thought I was really nice.
Yeah.
But it was different. I think a lot of the other moms were like, come here, give me a hug. How you been? How's it? Like much more out there with it.
Yes, totally. Are you talking about your kids' moms?
The kids' friends' moms? Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
We moved to an area called Mountain Brook in Birmingham, and it's real wealthy there. And I got there and I was like, I do not belong here. I mean, I'm, even though like, I don't know, when you never, like, I don't know about you, but I never really think of myself as being famous. Like, right. I just don't.
Me too. Yeah.
I just think I'm, I always think everybody's kind of doing it better than me, or they have more money than me, or they've got it going on more than I do. Like, but it is a lot from the way our parents are in the Midwest. It's just like, get the work done, and you don't have to say thank you or please to your children to do the work. You just got to do the work.
Yeah.
And I was also raised very much, I thought being skinny equals love, being beautiful equals love. So it's all like very conditional. Mm-hmm. And I think when you start on stage as young as we did, you kind of get that in your head. Like, oh, so if I perform well and I look great and I'm just perfect all the time, then I'm going to receive love.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. Mm-hmm. And I think it took me a long time to figure that out. Mm-hmm. I think that, it's just in the past few years that I've realized that singing is what I do.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be who I am.
Right.
If something were to happen where I couldn't do it anymore, it's okay.
Exactly. Yes. And it's weird when people, because I always say people change. I didn't change when I became famous. Mm-hmm. People changed. Mm-hmm. But these days, like, I feel really, really bad for musicians and singers who are coming to town and trying to get a deal, because they're meant to have 1 million followers on TikTok and Instagram before a label will even look at them.
I don't even know how labels work anymore.
I don't either.
I'm really like complete. It's like a whole different world. Like, it's like something happened and now I don't, because I loved the music business. Mm-hmm. Like, I loved the music business. I loved the music and I loved the business side of it.
Yeah.
I loved doing whatever it took to make it happen. I liked working with people. I was so lucky. We were so lucky that we had a label that had experienced executives that knew what they were doing and could sort of shepherd you. We were always in control of making the music, and then they helped us get the music out there.
Right.
These people today, I'm like, how are they doing it? I see young girls who are, coming up, and I'm like, it seems like they don't have what we had.
They're not as lucky as we were.
Yeah.
No, not at all. Because I would say that our generation is probably the luckiest maybe in the history of the world, because we grew up in the 80s and that was so fucking cool. Mm-hmm. We had the best music, in the 70s and 80s, and then the 90s were just a really cool decade, and that's when we were, getting married and starting to have kids and all that. But yeah, 2 of my 3 children want to make it in the music industry, and I don't know what to tell them.
Yeah.
I have
Isn't that weird?
Idea. Yeah.
Like,
we had so much force behind us.
So much force behind us and so much direction. Mm-hmm. And I just think what has happened. Like, I don't even know where to begin if somebody asks me for advice. I mean, I always say the things like, surround yourself with good people, work hard, be yourself, be true to yourself, all those things. But as far as the actual making it and the business part of it, I'm like, I don't know. It's just different.
I don't get it. And these days our music is basically given away for free. Mm-hmm. You know, when we were coming up, you know, we could release a single. What was it? 6 or 8 weeks later, the album would drop. Mm-hmm. We could expect to go platinum pretty soon after that if we had that first hit single, because everybody was waiting for the album. Now we have really nothing to sell except ourselves on the road.
Yeah.
And
it was hard work.
It was very hard work.
Make no mistake, you know.
Yes.
It was hard work. But because we had people that would tell us, you know, you have to do a radio tour. Well, that means traveling all over the United States, visiting with 2 or sometimes 3 radio stations a day, going to dinners, getting up early.
Mm-hmm. It's like running for president.
Yeah. It was like a campaign.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just all of the stuff that we had to do to keep it going was a lot of work, but it was fun.
It was.
Most of the time it was fun.
Yeah. I think it was fun because we kind of knew that we were making it.
And you knew that you would see results, and that you did have people around you that you could trust that would, well, for the most part, that were going to be telling, that they were all on your team. Like, everybody had something to gain if you did well. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But which is also why it was a little bit hard to be a woman in the industry if you wanted to have babies, because, you know, I remember I tell the story all the time, but Avery played football in high school. And I told everybody, I don't even think I still had a record deal at that time, because after Bro Country started, they stopped playing women.
Yeah.
And then RCA dropped me. I think A Little Bit Stronger was my last hit, big hit. I released a song called Slow Me Down after that. It kind of did okay. And then after that, you know, because of course it's your fault.
Yeah.
It's your fault when radio stops playing women, you know. But I told all of my team I need every Friday night off for 8 weeks, you know, just football season.
Yeah.
There's 8 to 10 games. Avery was a great athlete, and he started on the football team at a 7A high school. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
It was only going to be one time in his life.
Right.
So I was not going to miss a game.
You wanted to be there to support him.
My husband, Jay, has 4 kids. They went to a different high school. So if I hadn't gone to Avery's football games on Friday night, he would have nobody there, because Jay had to go to his kids' football games on Friday nights.
Yeah.
So we were only together the one Friday night that they played each other.
Okay.
And my team, you know, they probably a good 3 or 4 times made an effort to talk me out of that. Do you know how much money you're going to be giving away? And it's like, I don't give a fuck. Mm-hmm. I'm not missing one football game of his. How would I think of myself later?
But see, and it takes so much strength and like determination we have to fight for that.
Yes.
A guy wouldn't have to fight for that. Or maybe they wouldn't even think about, you know what I mean? I don't know. It's a different, and I'm not one of those girls either that goes, men have to, you know.
Yeah.
I know people would say, is it hard being a woman in the music business? I'd be like, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know any other thing. So I don't sit around thinking about it.
And I'm not angry about it.
No.
Yeah.
But I'm not bitter about it at all, you know, but and I think that's like, you know, you just do what it takes kind of when it comes to that kind of stuff. But I mean, but yeah, traveling with your kids, showing up for their ball games, taking it, not playing a gig because you want to be there for them is something that you kind of have to fight for.
Yes, absolutely. And you got to be real prepared. And, you know, I would call the school and beg them for the calendar.
Oh, me too.
For the year, you know, because there's nothing worse than, you know, like, this is going to be Olivia's Christmas pageant or Christmas play, and I've got a show booked. Yeah. Because as you know, you cannot get out of a show.
Right, right.
It's almost impossible to get out of a show, because you're risking being sued, and, you know, you're supporting all these people. How have you managed to keep all of your people? I've always looked at you at that too. I mean, I don't want you to think I'm stalking you. I don't think about you as much as it sounds like I do, but I've always, not in a creepy way, but I've always looked to you you've always just been, a few years ahead of me. So I've always looked at how you've done it because you've been able to, we've both had a really long career. We're very lucky.
Oh yeah.
A lot of women that came up when we did don't still have that going. How have you managed and been able to you have pretty much all the same people.
Yeah.
For what? Over 20 years?
Yeah. My tour manager, Mark, has been with me 29 years.
That's amazing.
And so is my musical director, Jim Medlin, and then the rest of them too. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's just a couple of things. I think that it's a family, and they're treated well.
Right.
We love each other. We respect each other. We have fun together.
Yes.
And when you come up through it, like they did, there's more. We've experienced a lot together. Traveled the world, so there's part of that. And then, to be frank, my touring schedule is, I think, especially for older musicians, like some of the ones, they're not old. We're not old, but older. They're not 20. It's good because we tour, we tour maybe 50 shows a year. So they get a lot of time to be with their families. Right. They get a lot of time to do whatever side projects they want to do. They have other businesses that they do. Yes. That they own and work on. And then they get to come out and be on the road. So, I mean, I think any of those guys are not going to sign up for a new act that goes out for 4 or 5 months at a time and doesn't come home. Right.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And I have a few of those people. I think a big difference too is being able financially to keep those people on salary. Yeah. I've had, a few more, I think, real big financial blows in my life that have not allowed me to, to keep everybody that I would want to keep on salary so that they never leave me. But even if you can keep them on salary, that is such a testament to you and how you and John. And we've done it both ways. We've had years where they're on salary and years where we can't keep, you know what I mean? Yeah. Just, it depends. It's a season of life. Like sometimes we're not, but the way we usually do it is a guarantee of a certain amount of shows. Yes. They get paid by the show, but there's a guarantee of a certain amount of shows. Right. And then anything over that is just kind of gravy, Yes. But, and I don't want to make it seem so clinical. Like the other reason why they're with me is because they're great people. Yes. Yeah. And they care about me, and I care about them. And like I said, it is a family. Yeah. Yeah. It is. You do become a family. And in fact, this year I went down to one bus. So I'm on the bus again with my
that's awesome.
band. Yeah. Because gas prices went up.
Bus leases went up.
Bus leases went up. I mean, it's almost like nowadays it's almost like it's costing you money to work in this industry. And the bus lease and the fuel, I don't know what we're going to do about that. But I didn't lease buses this year. I have a bus that we actually end up buying, which for 20 some years we didn't buy a bus. We leased a bus. And then I decided, John, we've had a good deal on a bus. We're like, yeah, let's buy a bus. COVID hit. Stayed home for a year and a half. No work coming in. So it wasn't good timing. But as far as leasing buses this year, I'm like, I can't do it because I'm not going to work that much this year. Right. So I'm not going to have buses and they're always like, oh, we can lease the buses out for you. No, they don't. You don't. Well, they don't. No. Why would they? That's not going to make them any more money. They want to lease another bus and let your bus sit there. So we're just doing a bunch of flight dates this year. Yeah. And you hate to fly. I don't like to fly. Yeah. But are you getting better at it? Coming to grips with, because I know you would bus from here to California. Yeah, I am getting better at it. I had a period of time where I was really sort of paralyzed by it. Yeah. Like every time before a flight for about 4 days, every conversation would feel like my last conversation with that person, And would you be full of anxiety.
Yeah, full of
Pre-flight.
anxiety. I think to myself, people would say, "Oh, it's just a little trip down to Dallas to do this, to visit this radio station." I'm like, "Yep, that's when it would happen."
Right.
Just a little trip down to Dallas. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
It's not even for something good, exciting. It's like, or philanthropic. It's like, I'm going there to benefit my career. This is when it's going to happen.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Now, are you talking about commercial flying as well?
Yeah.
So my daughter Olivia is very afraid to fly. She hates it. And part of the reason is that I almost died in a plane crash, but a little plane.
Okay.
Private plane. One of those where it's like 2 and 2 looking at each other. And then the bathroom in the back, and so that I think got in her head.
Mm-hmm.
But, commercial flights are so safe. But I agree with you. There would be times like I think I have a lot of PTSD from any time I had to leave the kids.
Yeah.
And fly somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I would sit up, and Jay and I like to sit up at night, and drink red wine and smoke cigarettes and, talk and watch things.
Yeah.
And I just remember if I was going to have to fly somewhere the next day and leave the kids, I would just be overwhelmed with anxiety.
I would imagine the news. I would imagine like they come on the news going, "Today we lost one of our," you know what I mean? It's so
country
stupid,
music
but
star.
like I would just imagine all of those things. And I think somewhere along the line, maybe it's when the kids grew up, or I don't know what it was. I also realized you can have a glass of wine before you get on the plane. That's a good strategy for me. And I just kind of relaxed.
Yes.
About it all.
Right.
But I still, if I'm being 100% honest, I dread it.
I do too. I don't
Because
like
there's
it.
the what if, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
now there's people that are mad on airplanes, and there's, you're putting a lot of trust in two people at the front of the plane and the air traffic controllers. And I don't know, I just pray really hard. And
Yes, I agree. And then one of my friends was like, if it's your time to die, you're going to die. But if
I
it's
don't
not
want
your
it to be that way.
Right.
That's the thing there. I was like, if it's your time, it's your time. It's like, yeah, but I don't really, that's not the way I would choose.
Right.
I
agree.
White knuckling it down, hurtling. It's not.
With
my
me,
favorite
I'm
way
not
to go.
afraid of crashing. I fear. So I don't want to get on a flight and turbulence start, and then it doesn't stop for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes. That's what I dread.
Yeah.
So I don't fear a little flight to Dallas. Cause I know it's going to be fine. It's short. Before you know it, you blink and you're there. I fear, like we went to Australia. Have you been to Australia?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That flight sucks.
Yeah.
And we got into about an hour of turbulence where it just wouldn't stop. And that's what I fear.
Yeah.
Is that fear, like freaking out and just, it's so uncomfortable.
So uncomfortable. I'll send you this thing. There was something Emma sent to me of this woman explaining turbulence and how, I don't know if there's Jello and there's some kind of.
It's Jello.
Jello, right?
It's
you know what I'm
Jello.
talking about?
Yes.
And that kind of made me feel better.
Me too.
Yeah.
Because I was like, that makes sense.
Like they should show that on the plane.
They should.
Before every flight.
Yes.
Forget where the exits are and here's how to do your seatbelt. We all know that. Like, show me the Jello thing.
Show me the Jello thing and assure me that I'm fine.
Yeah.
That turbulence is not going to take the plane down. And it's not.
Right.
It's not. But I just don't want to get on there and have a panic attack.
Yeah.
I always take Klonopin before I fly. Like it's just, yeah. But I think with us, it probably is tied to going to work maybe without our children. Like for me, I know that is. If I have to go somewhere without the kids,
Yeah.
it's a lot worse. But if we were all going to get on a plane together and go for a vacation, I probably wouldn't feel that stress.
Do you ever, like sometimes John and I will say, maybe we should fly separately. Mm-hmm. So if something happens, and we have done that a few times, but now we're just like, it's going to be fine.
Yeah, I know.
Knock on wood.
It is. And it is. I think the problem too is, I don't know how you feel, but I just feel like right now we're in such a weird time in the world that things just seem kind of scary. Like
Everything seems precarious.
Yes.
Yeah.
The world is too absurd to even be satirical. Like you can't even make some of the shit up.
Yeah.
It's just, there's so many things that are absurd and so many things that we're kind of going behind the curtain. And I don't want to know too much about airplanes.
No.
And
no.
traffic control.
No.
I feel like we've been lucky in living in kind of this blind, naivety,
trusting
everything about everything, and we've, like I said, we've seen behind the curtain, and it's scary.
Yeah.
I don't want to know all that stuff. No. I just want to think that, everybody's good and everybody's going to do the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think we've learned in the last couple of years that it can get, we can know too much.
Yeah.
Or something. I don't like that.
Yeah.
Can you guys talk about how the theme of isolation has showed up in maybe ways that other people wouldn't know?
Do you feel that way? Ever that you're surrounded by fans and people, but you're alone?
Well, I think having, John as a partner helps me out a lot because we are kind of going through it all together. But I understand what you mean. I mean, when I was a kid, I felt very isolated because, as we said, didn't really have anybody that had the same blinders on when it came to music, anything that they were that passionate about.
Right.
So it was weird. It was a weird thing to do.
Yeah.
It was like, what? Nobody else did that.
Right.
In that little town. So it was hard for them to understand. It was hard for me to relate a little bit, I think. But I think even as a kid, I coped with that by just trying to be nice and friendly and funny and there for everybody. And you know what I mean? I think that was kind of how I coped with it as a kid in high school. But I've heard people say this before, and I try not to think of it this way, but sometimes you can think to yourself, well, all of these people that are around me are getting paid to be around me. Right. You know what I mean? In a way, right?
Yeah.
Even though that's pretty selfish because they're doing it because they're there because they want to be there. But so it's not just all about me. So I guess I'm not really answering the question.
It's both though. They do love you, but they are there because they're getting paid to be there. And sometimes it can feel like, I know that sometimes I'll say something on the bus and everybody just, dies laughing. And, I'm funny, but sometimes you feel like
that wasn't that funny.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Sometimes you just kind of can tell that. But I think for the most part, you're so genuine, and us growing up the way we did, I think we can trust that. I really felt that the label, more than anything, I was terrified of the record label. I hated any time there was a call to my manager from the record label because it was always going to be a request or a criticism. Like, when is she going to lose the baby weight? We need to get her in a gym. We need to get her to a trainer. We've talked about this before.
So ridiculous.
So ridiculous. And again, I'm not bitter about it or angry about it. It's just, at the end of the day, we are a product.
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
And the record label they want to make money off of us. They might love us personally. I've kept my friendship with Renee Bell, for instance, all these years. And I know that she truly loved me and my music. But at the end of the day, you are there to make them money. Yeah. So, but again, I do think we had it a lot easier than now because like that thing that I posted that Rick Rubin said, you should make music. Your fans should never come in to your thought process when you're making music. You should make music for you because then the fans know that it's so authentically you. I feel like you've always done that.
I have to a certain extent. I mean, I've recorded songs that I don't think that a lot of people would have gotten away with. And I don't know how I got away with it. Getting like, how was Concrete Angel a hit? I have no idea. And, Joe was always really good. Our record label head was good at encouraging. He never really tried to stop me from doing those songs. He was always all for it. But always there was a grain of something that was like, well, I've got these album cuts, but I also need to find some commercial things.
Right.
Like we always wanted to be on the radio. We wanted to have hits.
Yes.
I know you're that way. I'm that way. I'm not ashamed to admit it. Like, you know, I wanted as many people as possible to hear my music.
Yes.
I'm not one of those people that can make music for like, and everybody just go, like, I mean, that's what's probably keeping me from doing it really now in a way. It's like, what is the point? You know what I mean? It's like, I hate to say that, but in a way it's like, if you can't do it big,
why do it? And if you're not going to make money at it, like that, I totally agree with you, Martina. It's like, I hate when people say, are you still doing music? And I'm like, oh my God, I've made some of the best music of my life in the past few years.
Yeah.
That you just haven't heard because they don't play it on country radio. I mean, you know, they used to say that a hit record can cure cancer. Like the ball stops rolling when you're not being played on mainstream country radio. And they can say all they want about, well, there's all these outlets now. And there are.
Yeah.
But I still believe that, like, why does somebody on The Bachelor who has no talent, but they're just a contestant on The Bachelor, why do they have 2 million followers on Instagram?
Yeah, and it skews, it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
It's about exposure, I guess, you know. But
I still think it's mainstream radio and mainstream TV.
But then I see artists that sell out 3 nights at the Ryman that I have no idea who they are.
And how do they do it?
So how they do that? That's what I want to know. I want that. I wish now that, you know, it's like I wouldn't trade what I did for anything. Mm-hmm. I really got the best of it. You know, we really did. We had that moment when it was, when records mattered and record sales mattered. And there was, like we talked about, we did all the work to make it happen and it was exciting. And we were the movers and the shakers and everybody loved country music.
Yes.
And there were so many females that we were with, you know,
yes.
and I recorded songs I was really proud of. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't change any of that. And, you know, at the end of the day, that's a pretty great thing to be able to say.
Yeah. I mean, because you made it to the very top of the industry, which is what you wanted to do when you left Kansas and came here. You became a country music star and you're a legend. You'll always be remembered in country music as one of the great female stars. So you did it.
Right back at you.
Well, thank you. Yeah. I just became a member of the Opry. Do you know?
I know. I was shocked.
I thought I already was a member. I waited so long to ask me.
I thought you were already a member too. I did. I was like, wait, hold up a second. What's happening?
That kind of shit follows me though. That
really?
whole, it's kind of just a part of, I've accepted it.
Yeah.
Like, of course they're not going to ask me to join the Opry until I'm 52. Like, why?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, this is bullshit. There's a lot of bullshit that happens. But especially now, you know, with the whole, like, these people didn't grow up on stage. Some of these TikTok, you know, stars or these one-offs, they sign them, they put them out on the road. They've never been on stage.
Oh, I know. They don't know how to do a 45-minute set, let alone an hour and a half.
Right.
You know what, though, Sarah? I share all of your frustration and mostly confusion. It's not really frustration for me anymore because I don't know. I've just gotten to a level of acceptance that it was very hard earned. Trust me, it wasn't easy, but I've come through the other side and I'm just kind of like, you know what? But so it's not frustration for me as much anymore as it is just confusion. Like I'm just wondering what happened to our industry. What happened to our music?
What did happen?
Where's the, sometimes it's like, there's no there.
Yeah.
You know,
what did happen?
So I don't know, but
I blame it on Country Girl Shake It For Me. It was the first
dang it
bro country song. And it was such a huge hit. And then everybody started copying that. And I thought it was just a phase, but it's been over 10 years now.
Yeah, I know. That phase has lasted way too long. But you know, it's funny how music is, how I heard a song, I've heard it twice now on the radio in the past month. The Bellamy Brothers, If I Said You Had a Beautiful Body, Would You Hold It Against Me? No, it's not that one. It's Do You Love As Good As You Look?
Oh, I love that song.
I love that song too, but think about that lyric.
Yeah.
That would not fly today.
Right.
You could never have an artist sing, you know,
yeah, there were
about the cover, but I'd love to read the book.
Yeah.
You know, it's like.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. There were no there were really no limits,
Yeah.
you know, to what, even 5 years ago. Or like we watched Father of the Bride the other night because Olivia's engaged, and we were like, let's watch Father of the Bride. That'll be fun. And some of the things that they say on that movie are just, you know, you can't do.
Yeah.
I think we're just, you know, we've become so sensitive and we're boxing ourselves in that you just have to play by the rules, and I don't know whose rules they are.
Yeah, and they change.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
change. And I
don't
feel
know.
like I'm enjoying, you know, being on stage, making, I mean, I just technically finished my new record yesterday. I went and did the last little bit of harmony or whatever that I had to do.
Awesome.
And it's very, you know, real. And I read somewhere that you said you were your next project was going to be a lot more real. What do you
A lot
mean
more
by
personal.
that?
So
Personal.
and I don't know if I'll ever get around to it, but should I make another record, I would like it to be, you know, I've spent my career singing songs for other people. Like I've sing a lot of story songs, a lot of songs that I knew and felt were for someone. Like this is going to help somebody deal with this. This is going to help somebody feel like they're not alone.
Right.
This is going to make somebody feel understood. And then I think to myself, well, but and you know, I don't know why, probably a whole psycho thing about it, but even though I can relate to some of my songs, I would love to do a record that's very internal and sort of like about getting older, about like all the things that nobody really wants to talk about.
Right.
And, you know, and just really make a very personal record. So that's what you know, if I make another record, I just don't know that I have it in me to record another 10 songs. Just another 10, like, oh, I love that song. I love that song. And, you know, when we were making records, you're still making records. I'm so proud. I cannot wait to hear it.
Thank you.
I called you and I love your records.
Thank you.
And the records you've made in the past few years are brilliant. I
Thank
love
you very
them.
much.
But we used to make records and it was like a collection of songs.
Yep.
You know, nobody really did get very personal.
That's
You know,
right.
then you have a record like Nick of Time, Bonnie Raitt, that was, you know, I look at different records throughout history and I think, wow, that was really like, they were really letting you in.
Yes.
And so I'd like to do that.
I wish you would. I really do, because I think you'd be so happy if you did. There's a point that you get to in your career, especially as a woman, where I think I remember we were doing that show together with the, you know, September. Do you remember?
Oh yeah. Earth, Wind and Fire.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And you said something to me like something to the effect of, doesn't this feel silly sometimes? There's a bit of humiliation phase that you go through. At least I did. I think when I was like in my late 40s and coming to Nashville, and for instance, they wanted me to do CMA radio remotes.
Oh yeah.
So CMAs.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that would humiliate me. It would absolutely humiliate me because I don't want to be seen as a has-been.
Oh yeah.
You know, I'm singing better than I mean, the goal is to always get better. But if you were to walk into something like that and you see all these young stars, and they're so different than we were. You know, they're all drunk on stage and rapping, and it's just a very different vibe than what we all had going on.
Yeah.
And so I've gotten through that humiliation kind of phase where I've come to accept the age that I am, but it's not easy.
No.
I had a friend text me recently about people get pissed if you use a filter. Oh my God. So I was like, I'm going to address this. And I posted a picture of me plain, a picture of me with a little bit of filter, and a picture of me very filtered. And I explained to the fans, I was like, some days I just want to play around with a filter.
Yeah.
But some days I feel like I look good enough to post a normal picture of me.
Yeah.
But to some, that is so, it makes them very, very angry if you put a filter on your picture.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, why do you do that? So, so I think I've just gotten to the point where I just don't give a shit what people think.
Yeah, you have to get there.
You do.
You do. Because there's just too much. It's too much. It's too much.
It's too much
to worry about all those, and it's stuff that we never used to have to worry about before.
That's right.
And it's just too much. It's like too much to worry about some total stranger worrying about you using a filter or whatever it is. Because you know what it starts to do is it starts to creep into your creativity and your psyche, and you're like, maybe I shouldn't do this. Maybe I shouldn't do that. Oh my gosh, I don't want to make it. It's like the thing you posted about making music for yourself. You can't let all of that noise in. Otherwise, you're just spending all your time dealing with that noise.
That's right. Yeah. And you focus on it. And we have adult children now. And that's something that, I've had to come to terms with it. They kind of want me to start acting my age and looking my age. But when you're famous, it's hard to do that. And I try to tell them after about 30, you never change the way you think about clothes, you kind of stay. I still wear some of the clothes that I wore in my 30s.
Yeah.
You don't really change. Have you found that to be a weird space to be in? Like with but we both probably don't act or look or dress or whatever like normal moms.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's all relative. Because I think I see a lot of people, well, actually they're probably younger than me, on the internet where they wear whatever. I never thought, unless it's like I'm not going to probably go out in something super, super skimpy. I never would anyway.
Right.
So, but I don't know. This probably isn't much different than I would have dressed at 30.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know. Usually I pick up whatever's on the floor and just try to make it work. So
yeah, but I've always loved that about you because you've always been, although I don't know how you do wardrobe changes in shows. I'm too lazy for that.
Oh, it's fun. It's fun. That's
Who
the fun
helps
part.
you?
I have a woman back there named Marianne.
Okay.
Shout out to Marianne.
Hey, Marianne.
Who helps me just with the Christmas show.
Yeah.
I used to do wardrobe changes in regular shows.
I know.
And I've given that up. But the Christmas shows, it's fun to pick out because I sort of do the show in different sort of segments.
Right.
And it's to pick the clothes that kind of go with the music.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
this
fun.
is the
it's
blue
fun
dress
for
segment.
Me. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I loved everything you wore on this Christmas tour.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Every dress was amazing.
Lots of feathers and sparkles.
I love that. I love that. I just want them to start playing women again, because what would we do in country music if we didn't have, the music from Loretta Lynn, Patsy Cline and all that? It's just weird.
We talked about it once on my podcast about how what's scary for me is all the young girls out there, in the Midwest or wherever they might be, that were like us when we were kids, and we had Reba and we had, oh my gosh, I can't, all the people.
Yeah.
And just hearing a woman's point of view on the radio, it was very balanced in that, even with a song like "Is There Life Out There," totally a woman's point of view.
Yes.
So strong, right? And that has that strength, that kind of strong point of view that's coming from a woman has just been erased. It's like it's not there anymore. There's a big hole that's been filled in with only the way. And I don't even think it's the way guys, I think sometimes it's just they're doing whatever it takes to have a hit record.
Exactly.
I don't even know if they even understand what the lyrics mean or how it affects people, right?
Exactly.
I don't mean they're stupid. Somebody's going to say, what do you think?
No, they're just, they're doing what Rick Rubin said not to do. They are making music for the fans.
I mean, everybody wants, yeah. So I just feel like it's really sad to me that there's a little girl out there that only thinks that she's worthy or important, or if she's wearing cutoff jeans and has tan legs and barefoot and drinking a beer and saddled up next to her boyfriend in the pickup truck. It's like very much the sort of the sidekick role.
Well, also it's very unrealistic because in their videos, they've got these beautiful models, but the women are like I'm like, but none of us real women, it's just weird.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so not real.
It's just
And
objectifying.
Yeah.
Very objectifying.
It's
Yeah.
very objectifying. And it's also, how can you get up on stage and really feel good about what you're singing? And I'm not talking about even the tight jeans stuff. I'm just like, you know, we need just great music again.
We need great music. I think even the records, I listen back to, I don't do this very often, but every once in a while, I'll, you know, get on it. I'll have a couple glasses of wine and start like going through my phone and listen to my old stuff.
Yeah.
For fun. And it's like the records were so good. Like the musicians it sounded like they showed up and they were invested, and they got together and they talked about ideas and they created a piece of music that had an arc, and it made sense, and it wasn't just this
Exactly.
like the same thing from beginning to end. It had dynamics, and it was, you know, the piano player and the guitar player would do a little thing together, and it was like very well, it was just present.
Yeah.
You know, and now I've no disrespect to the musicians, but I'm sure they're just like, here we go again, you know, with the same beat, same feel, same lyrics, same melody, same thing. So I feel like sometimes that the art of making a record is kind of been lost.
The same way in the movie industry.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, I want the world to get back to real authenticity. I would love that so much in the arts, you know,
Yeah.
and everywhere, but mostly in the arts. But we did our part.
We did.
And I'm coming out with a real rough record. It talks about a lot of rough things. There's always hope for things coming back around, and we need to go back to everything being real, you know, which is why I love that you grow a garden, which I've never been able to do. Someday I'm going to ask you to teach me how to grow a garden, because I love that about you.
I love it.
Is it really, really hard?
No, it's not that hard. It's you know, just experience, you know, but it's also just, for me, I love to be in the dirt. I love to grow something from a seed, and next thing it's on your kitchen table and you're eating. Like, I don't know, for me, it's just like, I've always had a garden, not always, but probably for a long time. But I never, of course, when the pandemic hit and we were all home, I really got into it. And now I didn't tour for whatever reason. I think it was just kind of it just was circumstantial. I didn't really tour like last June and July. And I was like, yay, I get to be home in my garden every day.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I get up in the morning, I make myself a cup of coffee, I walk out there, and I just say, good morning, everybody.
That's amazing.
You know, and I just like tend to everybody and take care of them. And it's just so fulfilling to me.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. Like I said, I hate asking my friends in the industry to do anything, because we're all, you know, busy, and but I really, really appreciate it. And I just, you know that I just think you're amazing, and I've always looked up to you, and I wish you the absolute best in everything and I really do wish that you would make that personal record.
Thank you. Thanks, Sarah. Yeah. Thank you for having me. I've loved this. I feel like we could go on and on and on.
We could talk all night. Yeah, always. So, but we just need to get together and have wine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay. Thank you so much.
All right.
I love you.
Thank you. I love you too.